So one thing that I think is truly unique about us, and having worked for, other financial institutions and working with people who work with other financial institutions, something that doesn't seem like it should be rare in any kind of service industry, but does tend to be rare, is every decision that we make internally, from products to even our internal processes, things like that, all of it, we all circle back to what's the customer experience.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Dani Hellenbrand. She's the Marketing and Communications Manager at IncredibleBank. Dani, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you. So Dani, why don't you start and tell me a little bit about yourself?
My background is actually in training. So I spent a lot of my career on the training side of the house. So in HR, onboarding, training new products, training our employees on how to do their jobs. And I was well into my career when we got a new marketing manager at my previous job, and we did a project together. We just happened to work together on a project, and she pretty much was like, you know what, you belong in marketing. And when a position opened in marketing, she hired me for the job, and I've been in it ever since. So I was an English major, so I think she was really looking for someone who was a writer and able to communicate. And that, I think, coupled with my training background, kind of helped propel me when it comes to banking, especially when I was doing that kind of training, that I was aware of how to communicate and how to talk to people about our products, our services, things like that. So it translated really nicely into kind of the marketing role that I was in at the time and have kind of grown with over time.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like you were a great fit for the position. So, that brings you to IncredibleBank. So tell me more about IncredibleBank.
Yeah. So IncredibleBank started actually as River Valley Bank back in 1967. So our founder, Ron Nicholas, he was a farmer. And back then he was a very innovative farmer too. So he was using new technologies, new ways of farming to get the most bang for his buck. But the challenge that he found was that banks didn't understand the seasonality of farming. They didn't understand that you needed a bunch of money at the start of the season and that you weren't going to be able to pay it back until harvest time. Mm-hmm. So he said, well, I don't like that. So he started his own bank. So he went from farmer Ron to now banker Ron. While we're not necessarily still big in the egg business, a lot of the things that brought him into banking kind of remain true about us. So at IncredibleBank, we're very focused on technology. So I mentioned he was a very innovative farmer back in, the 50s, 60s. He's remained innovative in the way that he wants us to approach banking. And that's a big thing that we take from it. And it's also, you think about farming, you think about those types of people, they're often big parts of the community. They're big supporters of the community. And that's something that's continued for IncredibleBank as well. And then just our experience, the experience of working here, the experience of being a customer. We're really focused on what we call an incredible customer experience, or ICE as we call it. And that's kind of our big term internally. We talk about delivering ICE to our customers. And what that really means is making an incredible customer experience at every single touch point that we can. And that's what we kind of really do everything based around.
That's fantastic. So, and you mentioned starting off with it being, for farmers, moving a little bit farther away from agriculture, more into tech. Is there a certain kind of, client profile that you tend to see working with IncredibleBank more than others?
We're very much a full service bank. So we service everything from consumers for their deposit and loan needs, to businesses, to nonprofits. But a few places that we've seen kind of a niche that we've really been able to tackle and have gotten really, really good at is motor coach lending. So we're actually one of the top motor coach lenders in the country. And it's interesting, you can actually go to some of those top motor coach companies and they'll actually have our logo with links back to us on their site. So if you think about, if you go to a car dealership, a local car dealership, the bank that you finance through your car dealership, we have a similar relationship with motor coach lenders across the country. So a lot of the customers that we get come in that way. And we've also found that we just have a good solid understanding of, because of that type of loan, we've recently got into some aviation lending. So we've been able to help people buy planes, luxury boats, things like that. It's pretty exciting. But on the flip side, we're also very much a bank for the people. So our communities, we're really strong in those communities. We're based out of central Wisconsin, and we have 15 locations across Wisconsin and actually the upper peninsula of Michigan. And we're building a branch now down in Florida currently. Wow. So down in Cape Coral. So while those are kind of our niche areas where it's really something that's truly unique about us and something that we're really good at, we really do service, everyone. We're a community bank, very much kind of with that technology feel, and even have customers in all 50 states. So
that's fantastic. And, you brought up a really great point that I wanted to circle back to, was talking about delivering ICE and delivering that great customer experience. Do you think that's one of the ways that Incredible Bank is really able to stand out from its competition?
Absolutely. So one thing that I think is truly unique about us, and having worked for, other financial institutions and working with people who work with other financial institutions, something that doesn't seem like it should be rare in any kind of service industry, but does tend to be rare, is every decision that we make internally, from products to even our internal processes, things like that, all of it, we all circle back to what's the customer experience. So every decision that's made, it all comes back to what the customer experience is going to be. In fact, we have recently kind of installed a new position, and it's within the marketing department, of someone who focuses on gathering feedback from our customers and from anyone that we have a touch point with. And at each one of those touch points, whether it's you do a transaction in the mobile app or you open a brand new account, we are gathering feedback on that experience so that we're able to come back and understand what are the friction points. Where are people getting hung up in the process? What do people like about working with us? What don't they like working about us? And that's something that we then take back to a committee. A committee works on it with other members of the bank, and we make changes pretty rapidly based on the feedback that we get. So we take that feedback super seriously. So I think a lot of people, you're like, okay, I took a survey and it's not going to go anywhere. Here, I can tell you very specifically, like I can give examples of someone gave us this piece of feedback, and as a result, we changed X, Y, and Z, and now we're getting better feedback on that thing. So it's pretty cool to see. And I think that's something that's pretty unique.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're quite nimble and, able to be flexible and, work with what you hear from the needs of the people. But it also sounds like, that was rooted in your founders' beliefs as well, like hearing that this is what the people needed. And, you're still carrying those values, today with Incredible Bank.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I think is great about that is, like I said, a lot of I think Ron's foundations in farming, I talked already about just his willingness to embrace technology, but one thing that kind of, again, on that service aspect that he's been very, very clear on is that when you call us, you need help from your bank. You're not going to have a robot answering the phone. There will always be a real person answering the phone. And that's a big part of that customer experience as well. In fact, I literally overheard a conversation where Ron Nicholas told our current CEO that a real person will always answer the phone or his job's on the line. So it's up there. It's really important that we have that really strong customer experience for our customers.
That's fantastic. That's really great. And I think it's important because stereotypically, I think financial institutions put themselves and money before their customers.
100%. And I think that a lot of times, and especially right now, there's a lot of anxiety around banking. There have been some recent pretty huge bank closures that have caused a lot of people to worry about banking, the industry as a whole. And I think that's a place that community banks like Incredible Bank, while we are, like I said, we have customers in all 50 states, but we are a community bank at heart. We are located in our communities. We work through our communities. We have an Incredible Bank Foundation, so a charitable organization that funnels dollars into our communities. We're very focused on that. Community banks are focused on that, and they are not at risk. So I think you're totally right. I think there's fear around banking right now, and there's a feeling that that customers aren't important to their banks, and that their banks are looking at bottom line first. And every business has to look at bottom line, but ultimately for us, the customer experience is always first in mind.
Yeah, that's really important. And I think that's, an important point to drive home about Incredible Bank, really what differentiates itself and really the roots, where the roots lie as well. And, Dani, I'm curious, based on your, experience working for financial institutions, now working for Incredible Bank, are there a lot of misconceptions that you hear about the industry, in general?
Yeah, I think so. So I think, back to that last question is just knowing the failure that banks have gone through recently. So Silicon Valley Bank and a few of the others, there's this feeling that banks are 9 to 5 stuffy bankers who want to put dollars in their pocket. And again, I'm going to come back to community banking, especially because that's where the bread and butter is for me anyway. These are people who live and work in your communities. So if you think about putting your deposit dollars into a big national bank, where those deposit dollars go is anyone's guess. When you put your deposit dollars with a community bank, those deposit dollars are turning around and they're funding your neighbor's brand new home. They're funding the business that is going up on Main Street in your community. They're funding the nonprofit that's making a difference in your community. And that's I think what people maybe don't really understand about those deposit dollars and the difference that it makes about where you put your money. Having them in those community banks where you walk in and someone's going to recognize you, that's what the real difference is. So I'll speak specifically to community banking on that one, but I think that's something that I think not a lot of people understand about the importance of that community bank.
Mm-hmm. And, a community bank that puts people above money.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Dani, as we start to wrap up this conversation, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with, either about Incredible Bank, the banking industry, life in general?
Yeah. Well, life in general, we can go a lot of directions there. I think ultimately for us, I'm going to say it again, just that incredible customer experience for us as a bank. If you have a bank that's asking for your input, that is taking that input and actually doing something with it, that's a bank to be valued, in my opinion. That they're gonna make changes to make things better for you. And I'll leave kind of with our name, because I think people ask a lot of questions about our name. Incredible Bank, and I think it sounds a little arrogant when you first hear it. And I know I struggled with it when I first started here. But I think with a name like Incredible Bank, it's not, our name isn't about us. It's about our customers, and it's about that promise to our customers to provide an incredible customer experience. And we actually did get some feedback once from someone who said that they left us because of our name change from River Valley Bank to Incredible Bank. But shortly after, they came back because when they went to another bank, they realized just how much better the experience truly was here. So I always love that story, because it just makes me laugh that someone left because of our name, and look, hey, it's an unusual name, but it's one that I think we stand behind, simply because, again, it's not about us, but it's about kind of our promise to our customers. It forces us to think about it every day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Dani, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you breaking down, how Incredible Bank is able to deliver ICE. I think that's fantastic. I think it's catchy. I think that's great. And, certainly the different expertise you have, in the motor coach lending and now in aviation. I think it's so fascinating, but also too, how everything circle backs to community and building that sense of community and building that sense of trust within a local bank. So, I really appreciate you being on Business Ninjas today.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kelsey. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you.